What happens when the CEO of a convenience store chain walks into one of his own stores at 2 a.m. just to grab a soda, and finds one person running everything alone? Harlan West built his company from scratch. 17 stores across 3 states, all open 24 hours, 7 days a week. He started with one gas station and a dream working night shifts himself back in the day. Now, at 46, he wore suits instead of aprons, but lately, something didn't sit right. Customer complaints had been piling up. Nothing massive, just little things, long lines, messy restrooms. A few mentions of no one around to help. He asked his district managers, but they brushed it off. Just a few hiccups, staffing's tight everywhere. Harlan hated vague answers. He decided to go see for himself. He grew out his beard, added some gray to it, wore thick glasses, and swapped his usual button-downs for a faded hoodie and jeans. No one at store level had ever met him. His face wasn't plastered on company walls, and he wasn't on social media. The stores just knew corporate ran things. He kept it that way on purpose. Tonight, he picked Store 11, a standalone location off the interstate. It was one of the older stores, tucked behind a worn-down diner. He parked in the lot around 1:50 a.m., looked around. Only 2 cars. The lights inside buzzed dimly. One teenager sat outside on the curb vaping. Harlan pulled the hood up and walked in. The bell jingled. Nobody at the register. He waited. Looked around. The place wasn't trashed, but it wasn't clean either. Trash bins half full. A mop leaning against the corner. One of the cooler doors had a cardboard sign taped to it. Out of order. He cleared his throat, then called out, "Hello?" A voice answered from the back. "Sorry, 1 sec." About 30 seconds later, a young woman rushed up front. She wore the company shirt, sleeves rolled up. Dark circles under her eyes, hair tied back in a messy bun. She looked around 25, her name tag read, Jessa Klein. "Hey, sorry about that," she said, catching her breath. "Had to clean up a spill in the cooler. What can I help you with?" "No worries," Harlan said. "Just grabbing a soda." He grabbed a bottle from the fridge and walked to the counter. She rang it up quick, hands moving fast but steady. "You run in this place alone?" he asked casually. Jessa gave a tired smile. "Yup." "Just me till 6. Always like that?" She hesitated, then glanced at the cameras. "Pretty much." "Why?" Harlan pressed, keeping his tone light. She opened her mouth, then shut it. "You want a bag?" "No, I'm good." He paid and stepped aside, but didn't leave. Instead, he browsed the snack aisle and watched. In the next 10 minutes, 2 more customers came in. She handled both. Then a delivery guy showed up. She signed for the crates, stocked the fridge, and returned to the register without missing a beat. Finally, when it was quiet again, Harlan walked back up. "Don't mean to be nosy, but how come you're alone? Shouldn't there be another person?" Jessa sighed and leaned on the counter. "There's supposed to be, but we've been short-staffed for like 2 months. The manager, Rick, keeps saying he's working on it, but nobody stays. I think people quit because of him, honestly." "What do you mean, he's?" "Well, he only works mornings. Comes in late, leaves early. Kinda talks down to people, especially if you're young or a woman. I've seen him yell at people for taking bathroom breaks. Doesn't train anyone. Just throws them on the floor, then complains when they mess up." Harlan's jaw tensed. "Have you told anyone?" "I tried emailing the district guy, but never heard back. I don't want to make waves." "I need this job." He nodded slowly. "How long you been here?" "Almost a year. Started part-time. Now I'm full-time. I pick up extra shifts because no one else wants nights. I don't mind, honestly. I like the quiet." "But it's a lot." She looked down, then added, "Last night, someone tried to shoplift. I had to handle that alone." Harlan's stomach turned. "You okay?" "Yeah, just scared me." "I called it in, but Rick said, well, maybe don't work nights then, like I had a choice." He stayed another 20 minutes, just watching. She cleaned, stocked, helped customers, even helped a homeless man find a snack from the clearance shelf without charging him. No cameras caught it. Harlan did. When his phone buzzed with a text from his assistant confirming his 5 a.m. meeting, he knew he'd seen enough. He turned back toward the counter. "Hey, Jessa," he said, voice a little softer now. You ever think about what it'd be like if someone actually listened? She gave a small, polite laugh. That'd be nice, he nodded once. I'll be back tomorrow. She raised an eyebrow. You live around here, something like that. He walked out into the night, got in his car, and sat in silence. His hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white. Rick was going to have a very different kind of morning. Harlan parked 2 blocks away from store 11 the next morning and waited until the lot filled a little. He wasn't ready to reveal himself yet, not until he understood more. At 7:12 a.m., a man in his late 40s stepped out of a dark green sedan, juggling a cup of coffee and a Bluetooth earpiece. He wore the company polo untucked, with khakis that looked like they hadn't seen an iron in weeks. The name tag read Rick. Harlan followed him in, this time dressed in a delivery company hoodie with a clipboard in hand. He didn't need a disguise, just a reason to be ignored, which most people were happy to do when they thought you were just a delivery guy. Rick walked straight to the back without greeting the man behind the register, a young employee who looked barely out of high school. He was already dealing with a line of customers. Harlan watched as Rick disappeared into the office, letting the door swing shut behind him. Harlan stepped off to the side and observed. The kid at the register, his tag read Tarek, was doing his best, but he clearly hadn't been trained well. He fumbled with the lottery machine, accidentally double-scanned a customer's items, and had to void a transaction twice. But he kept his composure, apologizing and asking for patience. One woman rolled her eyes and walked out. Another customer muttered something under his breath. Tarek glanced toward the back office once, then turned back to the register and pushed through. At 7:26, the door to the office opened again. Rick emerged, phone still pressed to his ear, and walked past the front without acknowledging the line. He headed directly to the coffee station, refilled his mug, and returned to the office without a word. That was enough. Harlan stepped outside, walked around the back of the building, and used his key, the one only the owner had to enter through the employee-only service door. He locked it behind him and walked quietly toward the office. Inside, Rick was leaned back in the chair, scrolling on his phone with the Bluetooth now sitting idle on his shoulder. You plan on managing this store today or just the coffee station? Harlan said flatly as he stepped inside. Rick looked up, confused. Who the hell are you? Harlan pulled the glasses off and set them on the desk. Rick blinked. No way. Yeah, Rick stood up fast, brushing crumbs off his shirt. Mr. West, I didn't know you were coming today. If I'd known, you would have pretended to care, Harlan finished. Sit. Rick hesitated, then lowered himself slowly into the chair. I was here last night, Harlan said. I met Jessa. She was working alone, no backup, no support. The place wasn't unsafe because of her, it was unsafe because of you. Rick cleared his throat. We've had some turnover. I've been trying to hire. No, Harlan said. You've been coasting. I asked the district lead last month about staff shortages. He said everything was under control. You told him it was. That means you're either lying to your boss or lying to your team. Which is it? Rick leaned forward, lowering his voice. Look, these night shifts most people don't last. They're not cut out for it. Jessa likes it. She asked for those shifts. She asked to work alone until 6 in the morning, Rick hesitated. She never complained. She did, Harlan replied. You just ignored her. Rick made a sound like he was about to defend himself, but Harlan raised his hand. Stop, you've been here 8 years. You know what this company stands for. Rick nodded slowly. So tell me why you think it's acceptable to leave any employee alone all night in a store off the highway, with no training support, no physical backup, and no assurance of safety. Rick looked away. We're stretched thin. Every store is. Then why are you only scheduled for mornings? Rick didn't answer. Yesterday, a woman worked an entire shift, stocked, cleaned, handled a shoplifter, and never once acted like a victim. And you sat in this office for the first 30 minutes of your shift and didn't even say hello to the guy covering for her. Rick shifted in his seat. I didn't know the situation had gotten that bad. Because you stopped looking, Harlan said. He stood. You're done here. Effective immediately. Rick stood too, mouth open. Wait, come on, I've put years into this place. And you've spent the last 2 undermining everything it was built on, Harlan said. Get your things. I'll have someone escort you out in 10 minutes. Rick looked at him for another second, then stepped around the desk, grabbed his phone and keys, and walked out without another word. Harlan closed the office door behind him and took a breath. He pulled up his contact list and called Jenny, the regional HR director. I need a temporary store lead at store 11 today, he said. And I want the district manager here by 10. She didn't ask why. By the time Jessa came in that night for her next shift, the store looked different. The back room had been cleaned. A second cashier was scheduled, a new security system was being installed, and waiting inside was Harlan, this time in his own clothes. Jessa stopped short when she saw him. He nodded. Yeah, she looked around slowly. Okay. I'm confused. You've been holding this place together, he said. So I'm here to make sure you're not doing it alone anymore. She stepped back, clearly unsure how to react. I should have come out here sooner, he said. I let things get too distant, that's on me. She crossed her arms. What happens now? Rick's gone. A temporary lead will be here starting tomorrow. We're hiring backup for every night shift, and I want you to help train the new hires if you're willing. Jessa blinked. Me, you've already been doing the work. Now I want to pay you to do it officially, she hesitated. What about all the stuff that's broken? The cooler's been out for 2 weeks. New units already ordered, we're fixing that, and I want a direct report from you every week, not filtered through anyone. Jessa looked at him carefully. You're serious about this? I wouldn't be standing here at 9 p.m. if I wasn't, she nodded once. Then yeah, I'll help. Good, Harlan said. And one more thing, you have any idea how many people you helped just by showing up and doing your job right, even when no one was watching? She looked down, then back up. I guess I didn't think it mattered. It does. And now it's my job to make sure you're not invisible anymore. She didn't say anything, but her eyes said enough. Harlan stayed until midnight that night, not to observe, just to help. He stocked shelves, rang up a few customers, and took out the trash. He didn't need to do any of it, but he wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. By the time he left, the store felt different, not fixed, but changing. And for the first time in a long while, he wasn't watching from the top. He was back where it started, on the floor where the truth lived. 2 days after Rick was removed, the district manager finally arrived. His name was Corey Darnell. Mid-30s, sharp haircut, good shoes, and a clipboard he didn't look up from for the first 5 minutes he was in the store. Harlan didn't announce himself this time. He simply stood near the refrigerated section, restocking drinks with Tarek, who'd picked up an extra shift to help fill the gaps. Corey walked through the aisles jotting notes, occasionally tugging at the collar of his fitted shirt. He passed by a shelf where the labels were slightly misaligned and snapped a photo with his phone. Is that really the issue you want to start with? Harlan asked without turning. Corey paused, looked up, then straightened. Excuse me, those labels, Harlan nodded. You snapped a picture so fast I figured it must be life or death. Corey studied him for a second, then his eyes widened slightly. Mr. West, I'm not here to shake hands. Let's go in the back. In the office, Corey closed the door carefully and sat down, trying to maintain composure. You've been getting reports from this store for months, Harlan said, resting against the filing cabinet. You didn't think it was worth stopping by until now. I've been covering 23 locations, Corey said. I rely on store managers to escalate what's urgent, so if a manager fails, the chain breaks. I wouldn't put it like that, but that's what happened. Corey's fingers tapped against his leg just once. I reviewed the staffing logs. They were incomplete, but I assumed it was an upload issue. You assumed, Harlan repeated. Corey nodded slowly. I didn't realize the night shifts were solo. That's not in compliance. No, it's not, and you missed it, repeatedly. Corey leaned forward. I'm not trying to deflect. I should have come out here, I own that. You will, Harlan said. Starting today, I want a full audit of every store under your oversight, night shift staffing, training logs, shift lead responsibilities. If there's even one more store with a similar issue, I want to know by the end of the week. Corey sat up straighter. Understood. And while you're at it, Harlan added, I want your phone off during store visits. No photo reports unless you're showing a safety hazard. This isn't a scavenger hunt. I hear you. Harlan stood and opened the door. You're going to spend the rest of the day shadowing Tarek. He's training while being trained. You'll follow him and write down every single obstacle he hits. If that's uncomfortable, good it should be. Back on the floor, Corey walked slowly toward the register, clipboard lowered. Tarek was scanning a small cluster of items for a woman holding a toddler. Mind if I tag along? Corey asked. Tarek gave him a quick glance. Sure. Just don't stand in the way. Harlan watched from the stockroom doorway for a few moments, then stepped outside to call Jenna. Put someone on Corey's stores for the next month, he said. I want a second set of eyes on everything. Nothing at store 11 was fixed yet, not even close. By the following week, they'd managed to bring in 2 part-time hires, both on trial shifts. Jessa, now acting as interim lead, agreed to train them, but only after she was assured there'd be no corner cutting. I'm not throwing someone on register after one day, she told Harlan during a brief check-in. If they can't handle it safely, they're not ready. Your call, Harlan said. I trust you. The first new hire, a college student named Liv, asked good questions and showed up early. The second, a man in his 40s named Royce, seemed more reluctant. During his second night, Harlan stopped by unannounced again, slipping in through the side door just after 11. Jessa was at the counter, talking quietly with Liv, who was folding down empty boxes near the lottery machine. Royce stood near the rear coolers, arms crossed, staring at his phone. How long's he been like that? Harlan asked Jessa quietly. She looked over her shoulder. About 20 minutes. I asked him twice to help rotate the dairy stock. He said he wasn't gonna do grunt work. He say why? He said he's been in retail too long to start over like some kid. Harlan walked toward the back. Royce. The man looked up, surprised, phone still in hand. Yeah, you're not a manager here. You're not even out of training. So let me make this simple. If you're too experienced to do the basics, you're too experienced to be here. Royce blinked. Wait, I'm the owner, Harlan said. You're done, clock out. Royce didn't move at first. Then, without a word, he placed the phone in his pocket and walked past Harlan, muttering something under his breath. Harlan didn't respond. Jessa and Liv watched in silence as he left the store. Liv broke the tension first. So, I guess we're down a guy. Better than keeping the wrong one, Jessa said. Harlan glanced at the half-stocked shelf. Go take a break, both of you. I'll finish this. You sure? Jessa asked. He nodded. Go. 10 minutes, no rush. When they returned, Harlan was still in the back breaking down boxes. Jessa joined him. You didn't have to do all that, she said, picking up a stack of crates. I did, Harlan said. Because I let this place run too long without checking who we were handing keys to. You're changing that now, not fast enough, he said. But we will. She leaned against the back counter, wiping her forehead. You know, when I started here, I figured I'd just coast. Punch in, punch out. Never thought I'd care this much. You care because no one else did, and when that happens, the right people always step up. What happens if we can't find enough of the right people? She asked. Then we keep looking, and we make sure the ones we have stay. She paused. Can I ask something? Go ahead. Why did you come here in person? You could have sent someone. You're running a whole company. Harlan didn't answer right away. He wiped his hands with a towel from the sink and looked out toward the front of the store, because this place used to be me. I worked overnights, I stocked shelves, I broke up fights, I scraped gum off the floor, and I forgot what that felt like. I let layers of titles and reports and calendars get between me and the truth. He turned back to her. I won't make that mistake again. Jessa nodded once, then turned back to finish restocking. Harlan stayed another half hour, then left quietly through the rear door. Outside, the night was cold and clear. A truck rumbled by on the highway, headlights sweeping across the lot. For the first time in weeks, Harlan didn't feel like he was chasing problems in the dark. He was seeing the road again, and he wasn't driving blind anymore. By Friday, the store was running on a fragile rhythm, not smooth, but no longer on the edge of collapse. Harlan had stopped trying to get updates through filtered reports. He was showing up in person now at different hours, unannounced. He wanted to see the shifts as they really were, not as they were described. That evening, he arrived just after 8, wearing a plain black jacket and carrying 2 coffees. The store had a low hum of activity. A few customers browsed the aisles, the fry station was clean, and the spill mat was actually placed under the soda fountain. Small things, but they told the truth. Liv was behind the counter, focused and quick with the register. Jessa was near the back, restocking bottled juices with deliberate care. Harlan walked over and handed her one of the coffees. "I figured it was time I brought the staff something instead of just watching them work." She accepted it with a small nod. "You're 2 weeks late." "I move slow," he said, "but I get there." She took a sip, then looked toward the front. "Liv's settling in. She asks a lot of questions. Doesn't guess at stuff. She told me she's studying nutrition, wants to work in food policy someday. That explains why she reorganized the protein bars by actual protein content." Harlan glanced at the shelf. "That was her," she said. The current layout was misleading. He paused, then looked around the store. "We're still short, though. 2 people can't carry this long term." "I've got someone in mind," Jessa said. "One of my friends. She works at the diner down the road. Smart, fast, and hates her manager, willing to do nights, willing to do anything that feels fair. Tell her to call Jenny," he said. "We'll start with part-time." They worked in silence for a minute, shifting crates and clearing shelf space. Then Jessa spoke again. "You planning on doing this with every store?" "I am." "All 17, 18, he corrected. "We just picked up one in Elkhart. You're going to drive to Indiana, already have." "Spent last weekend in a back office with a broken heater and a kid who thought I was a health inspector." She smiled faintly. "You get a good look at what you built. Sometimes I don't like what I see, but you're still looking." He didn't answer. At 9:30, the doors opened and a man stepped in, wearing a crossbody satchel and a fleece zip-up. He nodded toward the counter and walked straight for the bathroom. Liv glanced at Jessa, who stepped forward quickly. "Sir," she called. "Restrooms are for customers only." He didn't stop. Jessa turned to Harlan. "That's the 3rd time this week. Same guy, never buys anything, just walks in, uses the restroom, and leaves without a word. Leaves trash behind sometimes." Harlan walked to the door and knocked once. No answer. He opened it slowly. The man was standing at the sink, splashing water on his face. He looked up, caught Harlan's reflection, and stepped back. "Hey," Harlan said, calm but firm, "you can't keep doing this. If you need help, ask. But if you walk in here again without buying anything or speaking to staff, we'll have to ban you." The man didn't respond, just grabbed his bag and walked out. Jessa watched from behind the counter. "That's new," she said when Harlan returned. "Most people just ignore it. I've learned to stop waiting for someone else to handle it." 10 minutes later, a silver SUV pulled in and parked across 3 spaces. The driver left the engine running and walked in with sunglasses still on. He looked around, then headed toward the counter. "Where's your manager?" he asked, barely looking at Liv. "She's here," Liv said, gesturing toward Jessa, who stepped forward. The man gave her one long, dismissive glance. "You're the one in charge. I am tonight," she said. "I ordered fuel filters through the app. They said they were in stock here. I drove 30 miles. Now your system says out of stock." Jessa nodded once. "I can check the storeroom. Sometimes the count's off by 1 or 2. Give me a minute." He crossed his arms. "You should already know what's in your store." "I will soon," she said, turning to head toward the back. He muttered something under his breath. Harlan stepped forward. "You say something?" The man looked up, startled. "I said this place is a joke. You've been here less than a minute, Harlan said. You haven't asked for help. You haven't provided an order number. You just walked in and started complaining. Are you the owner or something? I am. The man hesitated, then softened his stance. Look, I'm just frustrated. You're allowed to be frustrated. You're not allowed to be disrespectful, Jesser returned with a box. Found one, she said. Last one. The man took it, then looked between them. Thanks, he said, quieter this time. Really? Next time, Harlan said, start there. After the man left, Jessa leaned on the edge of the counter. People change quick when they think someone important's listening. I'd prefer they treat everyone like someone's listening. You can't fix people. No, Harlan said. But I can make sure they don't get rewarded for being the wrong kind. At 11, Liv clocked out and waved goodbye. Harlan stayed. He wasn't supervising anymore, he was just present, helping where needed. Watching the systems he'd once trusted from a distance now begin to rebuild from the ground level. At midnight, Jessa sat on the step behind the register, sipping water. I've been thinking, she said. If you're serious about making this permanent, about fixing the culture, it's not just bad managers you have to worry about. What else? Silence, she said. When people stop believing anyone's listening, they stop talking, they stop reporting, they stop hoping it'll change, he nodded. So how do we fix that? You make sure they're heard, not just when things are broken, all the time. He stood, stretched his back, and looked around the store. It wasn't gleaming, it wasn't perfect, but it was steady and honest. You want to stay on his lead? He asked. I do. Then start building your team, not just warm bodies, people who care, people who'll say something when it's wrong, people who'll listen. I already started, she said. They locked up together at 2 after the overnight shift replacement, a temporary from another store, arrived. Harlan walked her to her car, then stood in the lot for a few minutes, watching the glow from the store fade as she drove off. Inside, the store would keep running. Not flawlessly, not without setbacks, but differently, with accountability, with eyes open. And that, Harlan thought, was worth every unfiltered mile he'd driven to get there.